In a little while, we'll be talking to the Taxpayers Alliance about the way the government spends some of our tax money. I want to know why they're spending £250,000 on an organisation called Educate and Celebrate, which goes round schools, making sure that they have very LGBT agendas. Nothing wrong with that. But why is the government giving them 250,000 quid? I mean, they can make their own money, can't they, if they must go around indulging in that activity. So more of that in just a little while. But first, I want to talk about Priti Patel and her plans to get tough on asylum seekers. The Sovereign Borders Bill was part of the Queen's speech today, which is a kind of system whereby we may return our asylum seekers back to whence they came. So if they came from France, we'll chuck them back there. If they came from Spain, we'll send them back there. However, all may not be plain sailing in that endeavour. Delighted to be joined by the Deputy Director of Bright Blue, which is a Conservative think tank, Nikita Malik. Good afternoon, Nikita.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming down on this lovely day. Actually, it's rather pleasant, isn't it? Sitting around in the sunshine. Yes, state opening of Parliament, big speech, including the Sovereign Borders Bill. This is Priti Patel's plan to get very tough on asylum seekers, to send them back. Now, this sounds good because I think the people of Britain really do want border control. They want to get tough on the migrants coming across the channel. We are now getting record numbers coming across. I believe 2,000 have come across since January, which is about twice as much as the whole of last year. So it's getting quite serious. I mean, apart from the fact we don't want that many of them turning up, there is the safety concerns because the weather's getting bad. But here's the nub of all this. She says, this is my bill, I'm going to get tough, I'm going to return asylum seekers. Not a single, and she's asked the EU to cooperate, particularly France, not a single European country is supporting the UK government in this endeavour. Not a single one. So she's on her own. Also, the United Nations on Saturday night criticised her proposals as damaging, so damaging that they risked Britain's global credibility. So the international community is dead set against Priti in all this. So in other words, the Sovereign Borders Bill doesn't amount to a hill of beans. It's not going to happen, is it?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, first I'd clarify that the reason we've had that uptake is because last year with the pandemic, the numbers of refugees really declined for various reasons. But I think what the Home Secretary is pushing, which I think is a valid point, is a free and fair system. So there are routes that exist for people who are seeking asylum, who need that humanitarian aid, whether they're coming from Syria or Afghanistan, and we offer them those safe and legal routes. So we should be focusing on increasing those safe and legal routes if we are going to be having a new system after we exit the EU, which is essentially what's happened. When we were part of the EU, we were privy to things like the Dublin Convention, which meant that, you know, if a refugee passed through a country like Spain, Italy, Germany, that's their first safe country, we would then return the refugee to that country. But of course things have changed with Brexit, and this is an indication, I think, of the Home Office having a new system which may work if we increase the number of safe and legal routes. And that's, again, something we've done with, say, the Hong Kong scheme. This is something that we did to offer asylum to people from Hong Kong who were protesting. And from the statistics that were released today following the Queen's speech, we're looking at very good numbers of people applying to that scheme and being able to live and work while they do so, and having family reunification in the UK while they do so. So I think there are issues to be looked at in terms of numbers, but also our ability to integrate some of the refugees we bring in safely and legally so that they can work and add to our economy. That's another issue we have in the UK, if I could touch on it, is refugees, while they're here, even illegally, or if they're still waiting for their status, they're not allowed to work in the country, and some of them could add value if they were able to do that. So the Hong Kong scheme, which is a legal scheme, allows people to work during those 5 years.
Do you think that would be popular with the people of Britain, giving jobs to illegal immigrants?
Well, I think this is the difference. They wouldn't be illegal, because if you're coming under safe and legal routes for humanitarian aid, whether that means you're coming from Syria...
They all claim that, Nikita, but that doesn't mean to say that actually they deserve to be treated as people who have a humanitarian need. They all say that. And the people of this country, a part of the reason they voted for the Tory government was because they want our borders stamped down on, and they want this sort of nonsense to stop.
No, but I think that's what the new asylum tiers are trying to do, which is that people who come through safe and legal routes to the United Kingdom are given the opportunity to have indefinite leave to remain. And by this I mean these are all classified as asylum seekers, because economic migrants would come under different routes. So if you take advantage of the safe and legal routes that the UK proposes, it's supposed to be a carrot, so to speak. And then those who don't, who come through illegal routes, are either sent back to their country of origin or assessed while they're in the United Kingdom, so that they're not given that indefinite leave to remain. So that's the back of this policy, the backing of this policy, basically.
So what you're essentially saying then is, if you're a migrant and you're thinking of getting on a dinghy and coming across the channel illegally, don't do that. Go and get yourself on an aeroplane, fly on in, and then just say, hello, I'm an asylum seeker, and we'll go, fine, come on in, have a job.
No, because there's a bit of conflation of language you're doing there, because migrants and asylum seekers are not the same thing, and I think...
Well, they are when they get here.
Not necessarily.
That's the first thing they say. I'm seeking asylum when they're standing on Dover Beach.
No, but I think the entire point of the system is the UK has the opportunity to do this alone without being part of the EU. And so we want to create a system where people who are gaming the system, so to speak, as you said, who are trying to come in and pose as asylum seekers when they're not, are not able to do so, because the genuine asylum seekers who need that help, whether they're coming from Hong Kong or coming from Syria or Afghanistan, are able to use routes that the UK has created, which are safe and legal to do so. And that reduces, and I think this is the Home Secretary's kind of positioning around this, reduces the reliance that some of these asylum seekers have on people smugglers and traffickers and routes that are incredibly illegal and unsafe for them too. So it's a substitution effect, one would hope. By creating more of these legal and safe routes, you then reduce the opportunities for people to take advantage of illegal routes, where they'll be turned away if they come here under those routes.
It's a nice plan, but I'm just not sure how popular it will be with the people of Britain. And here's the problem. If Pretty's new Sovereign Borders Bill is based around our alleged ability to be able to return people to France or Spain or wherever, trust me, I mean, the French won't go, oh, great, you're sending back a migrant. They won't do that. They won't accept them. Hence, the EU's response. As I say, your plan, don't get me wrong, I'm not against it, it sounds very nice. However, I think practically speaking, in the real world, it is doomed to, put it this way, at worst, an uphill struggle.
Well, I think we'll have to wait and see, won't we? It's a new plan. I think there will be growing pains, and what will happen essentially is, if people are coming illegally from France or from Germany and these countries refuse to cooperate with us, we will have no choice but to continue to assess these claims and see opportunities where if they're not legitimate claims, we'll have to send refugees back, or if they are legitimate claims, we will have to create opportunities for them to stay in the UK. But it is what it is. We're out of the EU. We're not part of the Dublin Convention, and this is the biggest overhaul of the kind of asylum-seeking immigration system we've seen. And, we need to wait and see how that pans out.
Well, as you say, we're out of the EU, and therein lies the problem, that the EU doesn't want to cooperate with us on your scheme, or indeed Pretty's schemes. They don't want to cooperate with us at all in this basis.
Yeah, just to clarify, I don't work for the Home Office. I am part of an independent. I'm an independent think tank, but no, I mean, look, that is something for the Home Office. That's something for our diplomatic relations. We have, in November 2020, for example, we did have a cooperative agreement with France, where there were a number of refugees who were illegally using ports and crossings, and they were returned to France. We had intelligence sharing agreements with them as well. So this is things that all need to be ironed out, where our border sharing and intelligence agreements change, and I'm sure we'll manage to do that.
Well, I think either way, either with Prissy's plan or your plan, there may be choppy waters to navigate ahead. But I thank you very much for your time. That's Nikita Malik, Deputy Director of Bright Blue, a Conservative think tank. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and you are tuned to the home and the zone of free speech and common sense down on College Green Talk Radio.
Talk Radio.